Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and the Sonic FOMO is very real right now. These are some Sonic games that I've had in my collection for quite some time. I've been a big fan of Sonic ever since I was a kid because I was a Sega fan first before Nintendo. And what I'm seeing right now, though, is because of the new movie, everything Sonic is going crazy. I mean, some of these Sonic games are already expensive, but they're just reaching all new levels. Like Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, these games are up and away. They're at the point now where they're over 150 bucks. I'm seeing cases where this is going for 170 bucks. Shadow is pretty expensive. And not just that, like I was uh in a GameStop not too long ago, and a kid, like a young kid, came in there. He couldn't have been more than maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old, and he was asking the store owner if he had any Sonic, I think, what are they called? Pops or Bops? The little big-headed figurine dolls things that were really, I think they're Pops or something like that. He was asking if he had that. And this is something like FOMO and hype is something that I think grips everyone. We saw it happen with Spider-Man, and we saw it happen with, Wolverine Uncaged and Deadpool. And we've seen this happen over time. Now, certain Sonic games were already expensive. They already were expensive, but these movies are breathing new life into some of these older games. They're making young people, folks who may have never even heard of these games or who may have never played these games in the past, they're making them go back and look for these games. And this leads me to a question that I just got on my channel from someone named John Doe. Literally, I think that's his name. He posted this question on my channel, and he basically asked me, Y2K collector, what do you think people will do more in the future? Do you think they'll play more physical games, or do you think that they will emulate more video games? And I'm going to give you my honest answer. I think that there will be more people playing some type of emulated version of these games than they will be playing the physical hardware. That's my honest answer. The reason why I think more people will place, and I'm not just saying that, I'm not saying emulation. I'm not saying strictly emulation. I'm saying I feel that more people will play some form of these games in an emulated format, meaning whether they are playing these games on some type of re-release or port to a new console, whether they're downloading them from an e-store and playing them on some type of e-shop. I don't just mean that strictly emulation, like they're going to a website, downloading some type of emulator and then emulating them on a ROM. I think these games will probably be played in more ways outside of their original physical format. Yes, I do think that will happen in the future. And I think that will happen in the future because because of the accessibility. It will be easier for most people, for a lot of people who don't have these games, to just go to whatever e-store they have on their platform, whether it's Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft. They're going to go to those e-platforms first and say, I wonder if this game is in my e-store. And if the game is in their e-store and they can download it for $5 and play it, they're probably going to do that before they try to go on eBay and find the physical game and the actual console and try to play the physical game. I think there's going to be less barriers to entry by either emulating the game or just playing some type of ported version of the game. Do I think that emulation, in terms of, people downloading free ROMs and playing them for free, do I think that will be the biggest way people play video games? No. I do see, like I said, e-stores and e-shops and online stores. I do see things like Steam, like the Steam Deck, and different, gaming consoles that are basically purely for streaming games, or not streaming games, but just pretty much downloading games. I do see that being more prevalent. However, there's a caveat to that. I do think that the more the gaming community becomes reliant on emulation, e-stores, and e-shops, the more we will be at the mercy of these companies, these gaming companies, when it comes to what they will allow you to play. There was an article put out not that long ago where there was a petition that was brought forth. I think the GHF, the Gaming History Foundation, I might be saying that wrong, but they basically, you know, put in a request to the Copyright Office, to the American Copyright Office, asking for games to be made available for study. They wanted publishers to allow gamers to play these games essentially for free so that they can be studied in the future. So that if someone wanted to go back and do like a history report on the history of video games, they'd be able to have a database where they could go back, find these games, and play these games. And that request was denied. Publishers do not want you to have access to all of these video games. They want you to have access to the games that they want you to have access to. And that is one of my biggest issues with emulation. It's control. You can say whatever you want. When you are reliant on some type of server, when you are reliant on some type of download, you don't have the power. You just don't. You can say that, well, you don't have the power either. What happens if your house catches on fire and your games burn up? Or what happens if your games suffer from disk rot? Or what happens if people will come up with a number like 101 natural disasters to take your games away. But the reality is that this game at this point is over 20 years old. You know what I mean? I don't know if, in 20 years, the servers that are up that allow someone to download this game will be up in 20 years from now. Perhaps whoever's maintaining those servers, maybe they'll shut them down. Maybe those stores will close down. We've seen more e-shops and e-stores close down. Well, let me speak for myself. I've seen more e-stores and e-shops close down than I've seen discs suffer from disk rot. It's more at this point from what I've seen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but from what I've personally seen, I've seen more delisted games, I've seen more e-stores shut down, and I've seen more access taken away from gamers who rely on online gaming, emulation, things like that. I've seen that taken away more than I've seen games suffer. And typically when games are thrown away or destroyed, it's because someone's deciding to destroy them. They're not just breaking down. They're not biodegradable. They don't just break down. They're made of plastic. Plastic is known to last a really long time. So again, I'm not saying these games are invulnerable. They can't suffer damage or rot. But my point is that, again, for me, it goes back to control. So I do think, again, that more people in the future will be playing video games on using methods other than the actual physical game on its original console. I do think more people will be doing everything but that. But that will boil down to ease of use. That will boil down to price. And quite honestly, that'll just boil down to availability. Because as more time passes on, these games will be less and less available. And access to them is just going to be even in that much more demand. And look, the concept is playing itself out right now. Like right now, go try to find a copy of Shadow the Hedgehog. Try to find a copy of Sonic Adventure 2, or whether it be on the Dreamcast or the GameCube. Go try to find it, and you'll see what happens when pop culture influences, the desire for these things. And that's why I say, like, if physical media wasn't important, then the value of these games, people would not start seeking these things out when movies come about and things like that. But there's just a natural human desire to want to have something physical. This is why when artists release music, they're now releasing their music with merchandise. This is why if for as far back as I can remember, if a movie came out, you had a T-shirt that came along with it. You got a mug that came along with it. You got a pen that came along with it. There's something about having something physical in your hands to touch, to hold on to when it comes to the media that you enjoy and characters and different things that you enjoy. So again, to answer the question, what will people play? People will probably emulate more in some way, whether it's an eShop, whatever the case may be, people will probably do that more. But I don't think that that's going to take away from at all from the desirability of original hardware. I just don't, because I think that the interest will always match, like the demand will always match the inventory. The demand will always match the inventory, because the same way, um, even if you wanted to say that the future generations of people who are interested in physical games are dying off, so are these games. Every year we lose more and more retro games. They break, there's less and less and less available as time goes on. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Those are my honest opinions. I do think people will emulate more, but I could be wrong. Let me know what you think, and I will catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Have a great week.